I can't fathom how this thing is able to fly. And you'll see mine, and you'll wonder whether mine can fly too. But
Oh my.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bug-type Bash, where we get to explore the biology of bug-type Pokemon, critique their designs, and creatively reimagine them in a fun and educational way. My name is Jason Thomas with the University of Idaho, and I'm excited to have joining me today Grant Bolton.
Hello, I'm here.
Good. You survived another day, and you're ready for another Bug-type Bash.
I'm ready for another bash, Jason. Bring the heat. I am ready to critique. And
I'm ready for some more Fs. We'll see if you can give some of my stuff an F this time, because this one I struggled with for sure.
Oh no.
Butterflies are difficult adults because their biology and trying to have them in a fighting sense to me was very difficult. So we'll get into that in a minute. Let's just talk about adult butterflies in general and your experience. Now, you're the butterfly garden master, so tell us more about your experiences with the adults.
Yeah, I mean, I love butterflies, and my daughter loves catching butterflies, and my kids love to catch them too. So I've got a extensive insect collection. I've pinned several butterflies and have a bunch in my collection, and I just think they're so great. I remember, tangent here, a quote I found in the beginning of a butterfly identification book. It said, "Happiness is like a butterfly. When pursued, it's fleeting, but if you sit down for a while, it'll light upon you," or something like that. I was like, that's poetic. That's nice. So happiness is like a butterfly.
I love that quote, because, sometimes you're trying so hard to be happy that you don't slow down to just experience the world around you, which is all what we're all about, right? Of loving insects and nature and things like that. So I love butterflies too. I've got a whole bunch of different butterflies, also moths and stuff here.
Yes.
That I just love, because definitely they are the most beautiful of all insects.
Oh, yeah.
And out of all groups, that's the most likely one that people don't have negative thoughts about, right? I would think they're the most positively, maybe bees are up there too, but like they're one of the most positively received insect groups out of all, just because of the beautiful and stunning colors, right?
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful, wonderful thing about butterflies. But for the most part, it seems like their biology is go out and drink some nectar, help with some pollination, and then make some babies, right? Lots of making babies.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
So that's where we're going to have some struggles today with trying to figure out how these are part of mini battles of these things that really don't want to battle in any way, right? They want as minimal conflict as possible. So that'll be interesting for us to discuss today as we talk about Butterfree, and I share with you my variation of what I would create and change.
Nice.
But I think with that, Grant, we can go ahead and just jump into Butterfree here.
Okay.
So here's the original, the butterfly Pokemon. Looking at it just from a distance, it definitely 100% looks like a butterfly, but we're going to have the same issues I always have of not enough legs and the mouth parts, right? So that mouth is cute, but it's not functional. I can't think of any butterflies that have jaws. I think they are all, the only actual mouth parts are the are they proboscis, right?
Yeah, the proboscis. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much only for sucking up nectar and liquids, right? So they're going to be on visiting flowers. They're also going to visit like mud puddles and sometimes animal droppings for those salts.
Oh yeah.
As well, but it's all liquid based, right? You don't have any. Now, going back to my graduate school, there is a primitive moth that does have some chewing mouth parts, but it's a very rare moth. But for the most part, yeah, they're all going to have that proboscis.
In terms of insect evolution, and we're getting kind of distracted here, but again, part of the purpose of this is to teach people, are butterflies more or less primitive? Which family is newer? Are butterflies, I'm guessing, are newer. Less primitive. They're more modern than moths, right? So moths evolved into butterflies. Is that correct?
Oh boy, I wasn't prepared for this question.
You're representing the entire evolutionary biology field, so
I give myself an F on that one. I would say that moths are going to be, well, some
because
moths are going to be more
moths
primitive.
look a lot like caddis flies and
Which
things
are
like
more
that,
primitive.
right? So
Yeah.
seems more primitive. So
Yes.
we
Yes.
could be wrong on that, but we're just going to say they seem more primitive based on the
Yeah.
opinion of two people
Yeah.
who don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that moths evolved into butterflies. I don't think that's necessarily true. But yeah, moths seem to be more
moths are more
primitive.
closely moths are more closely moths okay. Moths look more similar in appearance to the common ancestor than butterflies
Yeah.
do. How about that?
I would agree with that. That's a good explanation. And someone can
Very,
rip
very
us up in the comments and say that we're completely wrong, and I'll take that. I'll take that one.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the look of it? I mean, I'm trying to understand those feet because he's got like 2 claw hands and then he's got basically 2 giant clown shoes, right?
They're so
or what are
cute.
those?
It's the cute.
Or is that or the reproductive organs? Maybe we've been looking at this
I
wrong
don't
the
know.
whole time.
Let's hope not. I hope not. It's a cute factor, you know. It's like it's not fierce. It's got these cute little legs. Yeah, but anatomically speaking, completely wrong. And is that a mouth part? Is that a nose? What is that? I mean,
That's the same thing. It looks like a nose with 2 little teeth coming off, almost like it's gonna be drinking blood off of something, right? A blood meal or something.
Vampire butterfly.
I do like that it does have the 2 separate wings. So insects have 2 separate pairs of wings, right?
True.
But I believe with butterflies they actually have hooks that hook them together so it functions as a single wing. Is that
I believe that's true. Yeah.
Each wing functions as if it were one wing. Whereas with flies, they have separate wings. You know, they have their back wings, which are halteres. Is that correct?
Yep.
And they use those for like stability and like turning and other things. I don't know.
Yeah. If you think like dragonflies, the dragonfly pairs of wings operate independently. You know, they can. That's how they can do all the cool aerial tricks that they can. But yeah, so butterflies typically their wings are all flapping together, which are, again, they're so cool. You know what? Going back to Butterfree, like the venation. I was looking at the venation of Butterfree because when we take our taxonomy classes as entomologists, one of the ways to identify some of these species is to look at the wing venation, all the different veins that go throughout the wings, and they did a pretty good job with this one with Butterfree, at least in my opinion. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not taxonomically correct, but I love how they have all those wing veins.
Okay, so some insects have a trait that's called wing coupling, where their wings are connected and kind of functioning as if they were one.
Yeah.
But it's not in every single one. But if you look at this little thing here, this little diagram is really cool, right? So basically, they hook onto each other through hairs or through little hooks that are on the wings.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Of the ability to kind of, connect those wings together. Or wait, no, maybe that's something else. Maybe this is something totally different. Is this something with mating? Maybe I was looking at something else. Jugal. Reticular wing coupling.
No, that sounds right because I know in wasps and bees they also have a similar mechanism. So I don't think you're completely wrong.
Well, as like seeing male and female, it's like are they connecting at like their wings? But it's just showing differences. There's differences between the species, between the genders. They have different mechanisms, hooks, hairs, all sorts of things. But I'm glad they did that. So that's one thing in their favor. They've got the 2 separate wings.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're separate, but they can function, as the same.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to think about the giant red eyes, but
they just really stand out. One thing I was thinking about with Butterfree. So with Caterpie and Metapod, we get this distinct like swallowtail look, right? You know that's a swallowtail caterpillar. That's a swallowtail chrysalis. But then with Butterfree, I'm like, wait a minute, this looks more moth-like than butterfly, and I was really bothered by it. Not really, but I was like, what is going on here? And then, because I'm taking this from a North American standpoint, our swallowtails have those long tails that give them their name Swallowtail, and I'm like, where are those at in this? And then I was thinking, you know what though, Pokemon was created in Japan. What if Japanese butterflies have something different? And so I was looking it up, and if you want to pull that image up, so there's a species of, it's in the same family. Papilionidae is the swallowtail family. So this is a papilionid. It's in the swallowtail family, but this is in Japan, or in Asia. And it's found in Japan as well. But I mean, look at the venation and the colors, and I don't know if it's what the artist was basing it off of, but the venation is kind of what gives it away for me. That maybe it's based on this butterfly, and not so much our our eastern tiger swallowtails or our giant swallowtails.
Well, and you'll see that a lot in my design because I use that as an inspiration. So
yeah,
we'll get to that here in a minute. But yeah, this thing weighs 70 pounds. As for how it is able to fly like that, so it's 3 feet long.
Yeah.
And then it's 70 pounds. So just I can't fathom how this thing is able to fly. And you'll see mine, and you'll wonder whether mine can fly too. But I just tried to put a twist on it.
I love it.
Trying to get the biology and stuff right, or at least more on the right direction.
Yeah.
Let's look at the Pokedex entries, and there's a lot of things with the biology on this one that I had issues with as well. So in battle, it flaps its wings at high speed to release highly toxic dust into the air. Its wings covered with poisonous powders repel water. This allows it to fly in the rain. Now, the water repellent nature, I looked that up, and they do have hydrophobic scales, so that is actually correct. But these poisonous powders, I think, is referring to the fact that they have scales on them that might occasionally shed, but they're not meant to shed.
Right.
And maybe powders can get stuck in the scales, but I don't know that there's any trait about the scales themselves that is for collecting powder. Then we get into biology, and we get into some things that really just I'm like, this is way wrong. So it collects honey every day. It rubs honey onto the hairs on its legs to carry it back to its nest. Has a super so like that one, I'm like, what the heck? They have a nest, and then they're collecting honey. They do visit flowers, but they're not taking pollen to feed other things. They don't have any sort of a structure on their legs to store and transport pollen, right? Like bees have structures to.
Yeah.
I can't remember the names. Do you remember the name of those?
Oh, I don't at the top of my head. And pollen baskets on the back of their legs. But yeah,
that's what I thought they were called.
Yeah, there's a scientific name for it. I think it starts with an F, but I can't remember.
Yeah, this says corbicula.
Corbicula, that's what it is. Yeah.
So, anyways,
I'm really showing off my expertise here, aren't I, Jason?
That's okay. We learn things in grad school, and then we
never use
forget
them
it pretty quickly because I remember in grad school I memorized hundreds of species and families and stuff, and just I could tell you the family of all sorts of bugs, but
yeah,
I have a hard time now without looking it up.
Yep.
It has a superior ability to search for delicious honey from flowers. Again, they're trying to teach kids that flowers produce honey. They don't. So maybe it's just the Japanese word or something for honey is the word for nectar. I don't know,
true.
But it loves nectar. Oh, so see, they finally fixed it in one of the later versions. It loves the nectar of flowers and can locate flower patches that have even tiny amounts of pollen. That's good. But this whole thing about a nest, do you know of any butterflies that have a nest that the adult visits? So the only thing I thought of that's like a nest is tent caterpillars, right? So they'll lay a mass of eggs, and then they will form a giant tent with silk. I'll get some pictures added in of that, but that's the only thing that I would think is close to being a nest, but I wouldn't really call it. I don't know if I'd call it a nest. Do you know of any?
So I'll just say this, that butterfly females are both terrible mothers and also really good mothers. So they're terrible mothers because they usually just lay eggs and they leave. They don't come back. They're not giving them food. But they're really good mothers because they can tell which plant that the caterpillar needs. They know if it's going to be enough for the caterpillar to feed on. So they give the the egg all the resources it needs to grow and survive. But it's like, I'm out of here. I got more eggs to lay. I'm gonna die soon. I'm out of here. So terrible mother, but also really good mother as well. But no nests.
Well, and they can. I don't know the exact specifics, but I mean, definitely miles away, they can smell specific plants. Plants that are stressed or specific plant species, right? That they are going to be feeding on.
Yep.
So if it feeds on tobacco, they can locate tobacco quite quickly and be able to move from one plant to the next and get those babies out there fast.
Yeah, and some caterpillars can only survive on certain plants. Like they can't survive on just anything. So the females have to be very picky about where they're laying their eggs because that caterpillar will live on that plant or leaf for its entire life.
Well, and that's one thing I tell people. So part of my job is I identify insects for people. People will bring me samples of caterpillars, and caterpillars are hard to identify, but if they can tell me what plant it was feeding on, usually I can narrow it down because many of them are specialized. There are some generalists, but if you can find what they're feeding on, usually you're going to find the species because there's only a certain number of caterpillars that will feed on certain plants. So they're very plant, specific. And part of that reason, I think, right, is because the different toxins these plants produce. So they're able to resist those toxins. So if you're on a plant that has a certain type of poison, you're not going to be able to eat other plants because you have all these biological processes that allow you to break down that poison and not get killed while eating it, right?
Absolutely.
So let's look a little bit at the abilities. So we've got Compound Eyes. The Pokemon's Compound Eyes boost its accuracy, so I'm good with that. And then the Tinted Lens, the Pokemon can use not very effective moves to deal regular damage. I'm not 100% sure about the Tinted Lens. I think it's more to like they're tinting the light or something, but it's okay. I'll give it a pass. I'm not going to give it a yeah for sure. It's kind of like, okay, sure, maybe they can have some tinted lenses. Now we get into the attacks, and I honestly think there's way too many attacks. Whoa. That's just my opinion.
Wow.
Like, all the attacks it can learn, but again, it's a game. They're trying to let it have attacks to be able to do things. They've got some of those attacks from the beginning. I could actually see a butterfly tackling something. These giant 70-pound butterflies tackling things. I'll give them that. Producing a gust of wind when you got this huge thing, it's probably going to produce a little bit of wind. They've got String Shot, Bug Bite. They've got that gust already. Supersonic. So basically, they're creating like these sound waves, and they like confuse things. I mean, I was like, I don't understand that. I'm not aware of any mechanisms of butterflies making sounds. Are you aware of any?
No, making sounds? I can't think of any, to be honest.
Or being able to hear. I don't think, sound with insects is actually quite rare, right? It's, like grasshoppers, cicadas, like things that are communicating via sound is so rare. Like, it's mostly all chemical communications and physical.
There is a lot of, it's another tangent. While I was in grad school, there was a researcher who looked at vibrations. They looked at tree hoppers, and they would drum on branches, and so the vibrations would travel through the branches and communicate with other tree hoppers on that branch. So sound, like through air, maybe not so much, but vibrations. I think there's something there too. But for the most part, if a species is not making a sound, they're probably not going to respond to the sound.
Yeah. Well, and it's an extra, you're small and you're tiny, so it attracts predators, so you want to minimize the amount of sound because it's an incredibly risky move. That's why I think we have less sound in insects and they have more chemicals because our ability to interpret chemicals, maybe dogs is pretty good to some degree, but like most of the ability of mammals and birds to interpret chemical smells is very limited, and that's why, we see all these varieties of antenna in insects and things, right, of chemical receptors and abilities to release chemicals. It's kind of a cool, unseen communication world out there that's happening all the time between plants and insects that we just never get to see, which is kind of a cool tangent.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyways, confusion. So it's able to confuse things. Oh, okay.
We're confused. We're confused about what it's doing. It's effective.
Then it has all these. It's super effective. It has all these different powders. So sleep powder, stun powder, You know, it's got all these psychic attacks. It's got air slash. So we can go into mine here in a minute of what I have, but it's got all these different powders and things that it's producing. What are your thoughts on this thing of it producing? Well, it doesn't say. Let's look and see what it says. So it says it flaps its wings at high speeds to release highly toxic dust. It just says it gets toxic dust on its wings, but it doesn't say how it's actually produced.
Yeah.
In terms of where it gets this dust or how it gets this poisonous dust. I mean, the only reason I'm just trying to think logically why they would think this. If you look at a butterfly's wings and it's been out in flowers and stuff, you're probably going to see little specks of pollen here and there on its wings. And so it's probably not the main way of it pollinating. There could be some that blow off and stuff, but I'm just trying to think why a person in 1985 creating this thing thought, oh, these things have this dust that blows off and it could be poisonous.
The only thing I just think of is that the toxins that the caterpillar sequesters, it carries it into adulthood. So these swallowtail butterflies are toxic, right? So they do have and they sequester that in the wings. So the logic there is that yes, the butterfly is poisonous and it has these scales. So maybe and I don't think the scales it's in the blood that toxin is. So maybe that's and once you touch it, if you touch a butterfly or a moth, you get the scales, that powdery scale on your fingers. And those scales are helpful for it to escape. Like it can slip away from the grasp of a predator.
Yeah.
Maybe that's their logic, is that it's poisonous and it has scales, poison dust. I don't know.
It makes more sense now that you're saying that, because I forgot that they do sequester the poison, but that's flowing through their hemolymph, so it's throughout their entire body. So unless they're like bleeding and spraying out their blood, which we do have, like we have ladybugs.
Yeah.
Well, now I think I'm going back to Osmetropod. Like it actually has a good defense mechanism. If it spills out its poisonous innards, it can actually protect itself. If it's got some extra organs in there, like it's got extra. What's the thing that everybody thought we didn't need? Was it the spleen or something? It just has extra organs. It just your appendix. It just has extra appendices or something, right? That it lets them flow out of its cracks or something, right?
Well, if we thought Metapod was creepy before, if it like acquires the new attack like blood spray, poison blood spray, it adds to the creepiness factor.
I think it's great for children to learn about different biological weapons and things like that. We don't want them doing any of that, but insects are just so weird. Like it would make sense to be able to have that. So I may have to add that to my design when we get to it, because I think blood spray would be pretty awesome, and it makes sense because they basically turn their body into a chemical weapon. Because I do know with it's ladybugs, right? They will.
Yeah, the reflex bleeding.
They'll bleed through like their joints, and so they're like, and is their poison? Not their poison. Is their blood like more acidic, or is it toxic, or is it kind of something gross that other bugs don't want to eat, or what is the actual function of that? What happens?
I think it's all the above. I think it's an odor. So if you've ever had ladybugs in your house, like the invasive ones, the multicolored Asian lady beetles, like if you squish one, you smell it. You're smelling its blood. It does not smell nice. And I think there is some properties of being, I don't know if it's caustic or there's something about it too that's not pleasant for insects to get all over them. So.
Okay, cool. I'll let you go ahead and give your score of the appearance of Butterfree and the biology, and then I'll give mine. So what do you think about the appearance overall? What's your grade?
All right, so going into this, because it wasn't looking like a typical swallowtail, I was like, oh, this is terrible. But having seen the Japanese, the glacial Apollo butterfly, I'm like, you know what? It's pretty good. The venation. I mean, of course, you don't have 6 legs. You got the weird mouth parts. So it was like DF tier, but I'm thinking it's solid like C+. The wings bring, and the antennae are clubbed, which I think is great. And so I'm going C+ on the appearance. Now the biology, the one thing, and if you've watched the other videos of Caterpie, Metapod, and now this one, we've always commented on the weight. And that's actually a big issue for me right now because Metapod is not consuming food.
Yeah, they should be losing weight each time because they're not. Each evolution they go through, they should be losing weight.
Yes, and so for it to be a 70-pound butterfly, not only is
you'd
that
have to
crazy,
have like a 100-pound Caterpie, right?
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah, and so that for me is a big issue. Is that like this conservation of mass or even growing of mass? It's just that's absurd.
Nectar is not a super high quality source of food. Like can. It's like eating, it literally is sugar water.
Energy drinks, yeah.
It's going to keep you going, but you have to keep drinking it like constantly.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's just to keep you living till you can mate, lay eggs, and die. And then some of the there's way too many attacks that are so for biology, I'm solid D. Like just not there for me.
Maybe I'll have a chance with the biology. I don't know how well I'll do with the appearance of mine, but as well, the appearance is kind of off, but it is what it is. I will give the appearance maybe I'm gonna give it a D just because. I'm gonna give it a C because the overall look again, it's like Caterpie. You look at it and you're like, okay, that's a butterfly, right?
Yeah.
But there's those flaws, so I will give it a C.
Solid.
As for the biology, I'm just trying to find anything here that actually seems like true to the biology other than the fact that it feeds on nectar. Yeah. I mean, it has compound eyes. I can't remember what you gave it. I'm going to give it a D-. I'm close to giving it an F just because it doesn't make sense. And plus the fact that there's too many attacks. But I understand game-wise that you want flexibility and players want to, mold this into what they want. And I think Butterfree, if you were to use it, you're not using it as like a main attacker and stuff. You're using it to like put weird effects and stuff on your opponents, like put them to sleep, poison them, mess with their stats and stuff. It's kind of a support type Pokemon. It's not out there to be a tank, or it's not really an attacker. It's kind of goes out, does a few things, and then gets out of the way because it's not going to really survive.
Yep.
So that's kind of my thoughts and my score. So now we're going to take a look at mine.
All right.
And this is Swallowfree. What's up?
Okay, just so I want the audience to know that this is my first time seeing that. Like this is my gut reaction seeing this for the first time, and oh my!
So one of the key issues that I said I'm going to fix for sure is I'm going to add a proboscis. So it's feeding. It's got to be able to feed on the nectar. I know, and it's a little bit heavy, but if you're going to be a 75-pound or 70-pound butterfly, you're going to be a chunky monkey. So, anyways, I wanted to make it look a lot more like a swallowtail butterfly, so I got that with the wings.
Yep.
If I were to redo it, I'd probably make it a little bit thinner because it probably is a little bit too chunky, but I was like, we'll just embrace the elephantness of this thing and just make it chunky. So between me and Emma, that's kind of what we went with.
Yeah.
Tried to make the eyes a little bit less scary, but anyways, just tried to make it look like a swallowtail. So I really feel like it looks more like a swallowtail at this point, but I called it Butterswall. So maybe it's not as catchy, but Butterswall. Butterswall. Okay, so here are nope, I think I forgot to hold on just a minute. I don't think I did my Pokedex entries, so I'm gonna take those out there. So you can score. You'll add this to your score. So I didn't actually do my Pokedex entries, so I failed my homework in that part. So we'll see. We'll see how that affects the score. But in general, I would just say that its biology, if I were to summarize it, is that it goes around and it feeds on nectar from plants, and it eats a lot because it weighs a lot.
Yes, it does.
And it crushes plants as it lands on them with its 70.5 pounds.
Woo.
So I didn't mess too much with the actual stats and stuff. So maybe I'll add some Pokedex entries in for the next one. But I did take a little bit of time to work on abilities and those types of things, because that's where I thought there was a lot of changes needed. So I left the compound eyes, and then I added this new ability, which is a hidden ability. So I think this would be cool just to add some additional in-game effects of the Pokemon. is just it has waterproof scales, so its ability that only it can have, and then it reduces water type attacks. So it basically becomes resistant to water type attacks, which would be something different and interesting, and it supports that biology, right? So most of the biology I would focus on the water resistant nature of the scales, and then that it's feeding on nectar. So let's see here. Here's my attacks. I cut a lot of the attacks out, and I put the attacks that I felt like it should have. So can it produce a gust of wind? For sure. If it can fly and it's that heavy, it can produce a gust of wind, right? The whirlwind, it did have that, the other one. So it's able to blow things away just with those huge, massive wings. Having it do the air slash, so it's like hitting into things in the air. The tailwind is one as well. So it's kind of creating wind that's supporting it. Let's see what the tailwind says here. I'm trying to remember what that actually means. I think you basically create it's like a weather effect or something. Tailwind doubles the speed stat of the user and all other Pokemon in the user's party for 3 turns. So it's like a support move. You send it out, and then you boost all your speed of everybody.
Nice.
And then the quiver dance is like a butterfly dance. So I just tried to take away mostly all the different attacks, but we did miss the most important one, blood spray.
Blood spray.
Because all the kids are doing it. So we're gonna put that at 56, man. And it's gonna be a interesting. We'll make it a bug type attack. And then we've got to create the actual text for the thing. So we do have the bitter mist from before, but we're going to have the blood spray as well. So what do you think would be the effect, Grant? You get to help with this one. So this is to help me get a better score. So when you score me, you're scoring yourself too, because you are part of this. You're creating this with me.
I see what you did there. I see what you did. You roped me into it. I'm still gonna be hard. Blood spray. Well, let's see. The biology. The
accuracy. We'll have the accuracy be like a 70%, but I think it would potentially poison the opponent, and it's gonna do some damage. I think so. I think it's gonna definitely do some damage where it's a higher level thing. This might be too high, but I'm gonna give it 100 damage, which is like ice beam. Like I think that's like some of those bigger attacks, like Blizzard and stuff like that. Maybe those are 120 damage.
I don't know in the game. Is there a way to make your opponent flee? Like it just runs away automatically?
Yes, it forces them to switch out. So maybe we could add that as well. That would be even cooler. So like you poison them and you this is the problem. So when Pokemon switch, oh wait, that's confusion maybe. I think they keep poison throughout the thing.
Okay.
Oh, what are we doing here? So 110 damage is like the max. I think 120 or 140 is like Hyper Beam. I'm just trying to see the power so we can make sure we don't make anything too overpowered and make the folks in the comments too mad. Yeah, 150 power is like Hyper Beam, like the strongest hit out of anything. But we want to give this thing some power, so I think we're going to give it I think 100 is pretty good, maybe 80% accuracy. So it's pretty accurate, but with his ability of Compound Eyes, it's almost going to always be accurate if he has that.
Yeah.
We'll do 10. The user, maybe it damages itself. I think that's cool. User deals itself.
Maybe like a quarter or maybe 50%.
Yeah, reduces itself. So it's almost like Explode or Self-Destruct, but like a weaker version.
Right.
But it also doesn't kill you. The user reduces its health by 20%. The target, that's probably not the right word. The opponent is now poisoned. Opponent's Pokemon is now poisoned and switched out.
There you go.
I think that would be a pretty cool move. You could do a lot of stuff with that. And
yeah.
Kids are going to learn about hemolymph based weaponry. Hemolymph is basically the blood of insects, right?
It is. Yep. Copper based.
It's copper based?
Not iron based. Yeah.
Oh, really? So they store oxygen in the copper. Yep. Is copper less efficient than iron at holding oxygen?
Probably.
I'm just wondering because back in the days of dinosaurs, that's when we had giant insects. So I'm wondering if their blood system is just not. You would think it would make sense that it's not as efficient, right? Because in the time of the dinosaurs, there was more oxygen. There was higher concentrations of oxygen.
Right.
So that's why insects could get bigger.
Yep.
Whereas it can only, maybe copper can only travel so far or something. There's something with that has to explain that, right?
Yeah, I don't know the physiology of it. And I'd assume that copper isn't as efficient. But I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, I think we've got enough here. I'm not looking forward to your scores, but we're going to have to do them anyways. So maybe the people in the comments will be super excited about you ripping into me. So let's just get it done.
Okay.
let's do the appearance first.
All right. Boy, I have some issues with this. So I think it's just too chunky. I mean, I know there's the whole 70-pound thing, but like, I'm just struggling with how thick those legs are, and the elephant trunk, and even the antennae are like fat antennae. So if I were to compare against Butterfree, I'm like, I think Butterfree gets the antennae right. I think even the compound eyes look like more of the shape of compound eyes, where yours aren't as uniform. I like the venation on Butterfree more than I like. I know you're trying to go for that tiger swallowtail look, but there's something just off about the shape of those forewings. You do have the nice swallowtail, the tail at the end on the hind wings. I like that. You still stayed with the purple color. I don't know why, but you did. I guess that makes sense because your other forms are purple based on Ekans and Arbok. So that.
Well, and I think what we did with the legs is we basically took the legs from Caterpie and we had those kind of carry through with it to keep some consistency. But that was between me and Emma, so if there's anything wrong with it, you can just blame me, even though Emma helped me do it. But anything good, Emma did. Anything wrong, I did.
So, in terms of appearance, grade-wise, I'm gonna go with this is the lowest one, D. I'm gonna go with D on appearance. I like the Butterfree version more. I have to say.
Okay, yeah, that's all right. What do you think about the biology?
Biology-wise, I think
the empty Pokedex entries,
it drops you down.
New
a letter
attack,
grade.
the blood spray.
Yeah. So the not doing your homework, it drops you down a letter grade. Sorry, that's just how I grade. But everything else I like. I mean, and you included me in the blood spray, so I have to I got to bump myself a little bit. So a solid B, I'd say.
Okay. All right, Grant. Do you have any other comments, questions? Well, let's look at the shiny version of what I did, and I kind of just I can't remember what I did. I just want to do something cool and different. It looks more ghostly, so I think I took this type of a swallowtail for a somewhat color inspiration. But this is what I decided to do for the shiny version. I really like the light blue with the purple. Yeah. It's very ghostly, like sickly. It makes it more creepy for sure, I'd say.
Yeah, I think it kind of stays with that what it's trying to mimic. I mean, I don't think this is trying to mimic anything, but like that Ekans and Arbok sort of feel. I like that a lot.
The color, the purple and having those different colors for sure.
I like that.
Maybe it could even be like I don't know. It's not quite a ghost, but I could definitely see a ghost bug like this or something. Yeah. Maybe we could make it into a ghost.
I like it.
Any other thoughts that you have before we wrap up here, Grant, on what we've discussed?
No, I mean I'm not as familiar with Butterfree, but the more and more I look at it, I like it. I mean, it's kind of got that cartoony, body, but I like some of the features on it. I know I like Butterfree. I'm a fan. Never caught one. Yeah. Never caught a Butterfree, but I like it.
They're very difficult now.
Now I wonder how you would pin a Butterfree if it was 70 pounds, just like a wooden stake right through the abdomen,
stake through the heart, and then the innards will actually. I don't know, because if it has innards that are like poisonous and maybe corrosive, like I don't know what you would use. You definitely have to use some huge stainless steel, so maybe like rebar. I feel like you'd be using rebar, but you'd be cutting the thing open and then removing its innards and then stuffing it with like cotton or something.
Oh, now we're getting to taxidermy. Yeah, we have to stuff the Butterfree.
Stuff it
man.
with the wool off of a wooloo, which are the sheep in the Pokemon world, basically.
Oh
So,
my goodness. Well, there you go.
but
Add
anyways,
add on a
go
morbid
ahead.
note.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do with making one of those or something at some point. But anyways, we appreciate you guys watching. Before we go, Grant, tell people how they can find out more about your work and copywriting.
Yeah, so I'm a writer. I write for ag businesses, ag tech and pest control businesses. I'm also a voice actor. So I do voice acting at boltonvoices.com, and then I have my writing business at boltonetal.co. That's Bolton, BOLTONETAL.co. And you can find me on LinkedIn. So feel free to read some of my work there.
If you guys want us to make more of these episodes like this, make sure you like the video and subscribe. We will be watching very closely to see if you folks are enjoying this more than some of the other videos we've done. I know it's something new and different, but I've had a lot of fun doing it. So if you guys want us to keep making these, make sure and comment on the video, like and subscribe so that we know that these are more of the content that you guys want us to be doing. I appreciate you coming on with us, Grant. If anybody wants to join in more on conversations about the channel and help mold what we do in the future, you can join our Discord by sending us an email at the link that's appearing on the screen right now. And that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody.
See you guys.